In this episode, we are summarizing the third episode from Season 5 of the Wire series titled Not for Attribution. The episode first aired on January 20th, 2008. In the beginning, Detective McNulty sits in the interrogation room reviewing cases of homeless victims. We see he's still wearing the same shirt. McNulty notices one photo with a red ribbon tied around the victim's wrist. Then Bunk arrives, replacing McNulty for the early shift. Bunk then questions McNulty for working so many hours, and he criticizes him and his plan to link the victims to a fake serial killer. McNulty argues that he has 5 years worth of unsolved homeless murders and could tie them all together with just one little lie. Bunk warns that McNulty's actions could not only damage the department's clearance rate, but also land him in prison. McNulty, of course, dismisses Bunk's concerns and criticizes the department's obsession with statistics and clearance rates. Bunk tries to reason with him, but McNulty insists that the vacant house murders are more important than the department. We see McNulty is determined to expose the real killers at all costs. Back in Season 4, McNulty made a promise to Bodie that he would return to being a detective in order to solve the vacant lot murders. Once Marlowe took out Bodie and dumped him in a vacant lot himself as well, McNulty now feels it is his responsibility to go after Marlowe in any way that he can. He won't let his superiors ignore those promises that he made, even if they don't know about it. Bunk threatens to report McNulty's actions to their superiors, but McNulty challenges him to do so. He just doesn't believe he'll do it. Bunk insists that McNulty take responsibility for his plan, but McNulty just brushes him off. He continues his investigation into old files and finds a case worked by the late Detective Ray Cole. McNulty visits a drugstore to buy a red ribbon matching the one in the photograph and practices tying it before inserting it into Cole's file. Later, McNulty hurriedly types a report as a way of linking his false case to the others. McNulty then hands the file to Bunk and Sergeant Landsman. Later on, McNulty arranges to meet Kima Greggs, but before leaving, Bunk pulls him aside again, urging him to reconsider. McNulty dismisses Bunk's warnings, showing little concern for getting caught. He even explains that the ribbon, now planted in Ray Cole's case file, will link all the murders. McNulty explains to Bunk that the system is ignoring a real serial killer, Marlowe Stanfield, and that because they are ignoring him, he is being forced to fabricate the connection. McNulty believes he is justified in what he is doing because the justice system he works for is essentially broken. His police department, like all police departments, are driven and judged by improving their statistics, not the actual causes. Even when murder rates rise, for example, the following year, the department just has to show a slight decline, and the department will then appear to be using the taxpayer funds appropriately, and everyone involved gets promoted. This cycle repeats over and over again, and there is never an actual solution found to the problems facing those living in the city, but political progress is made nonetheless. McNulty arrives at the morgue where he ties the red ribbon to a decedent's wrist, making sure the bruising on the neck and hemorrhaging around the eyes match the signs of strangulation. McNulty is disappointed, however, at first because he is not getting as much coverage as he thought he would for his serial killer story. He then decides to contact a reporter at The Sun for more attention on his own. Meanwhile, at the newspaper, Alma Gutierrez is also disappointed when her front page story on the triple homicide is relegated to a short, which is a less prominent piece in the newspaper world. Instead of the headline she thought she would receive, her story seems to be ignored. She visits the press to secure a copy and learns that it was cut down due to space constraints. She shares her frustrations with her colleagues, and we see the reality of the shrinking newsrooms and declining budgets as less and less people read the newspaper entirely. In the political world, Deputy Commissioner Valchek meets with Mayor Tommy Carcetti, urging him to use the rising crime statistics as leverage to fire Commissioner Irvin Burrell. Valchek suggests he could serve as interim commissioner, increasing his pension, but Carcetti is skeptical. Carcetti faces the challenge of dealing with the city's crime rates while also managing all the budget cuts. Burrell and Deputy Commissioner Rawls present conflicting crime data to Carcetti, but the mayor insists on producing real and clear numbers. Carcetti believes Rawls would be the best candidate to lead the police department, but he knows that he needs to support an African American candidate, and Rawls is white, unfortunately. The second pick would be Cedric Daniels, but Wilson, another politician, worries that Daniels does not have enough experience to run the department on his own. At the Baltimore Sun, Alma Gutierrez struggles with the harsh realities of the shrinking news coverage. Her story on the Junebug murders is significantly cut again. This shows us just how drastically the newsroom is shifting its priority. After some tense moments, she begins to realize that the newspaper's shrinking resources and readership are impacting the quality of journalism as a whole. Meanwhile, veteran reporters like Gus Haynes and Roger Twigg share their concerns about the future of the newspaper, especially in the midst of budget cuts. As we catch up with Detective Sidnor, we see he is involved in a grand jury case related to politician Clay Davis, whose driver, Damian Price, faces difficult questioning. Price is unable to explain how he sustains multiple jobs, and we see the case against Davis growing and developing every step of the way. Davis goes to meet with Carcetti and Staintorf, offering to help smooth over transitions in the police department in exchange for assistance with his case. However, Staintorf dismisses the offer, and Davis is left to navigate his own legal troubles on his own. Marlowe and Snoop visit Little Johnny's Diner, a spot frequented by the Greeks. Stanfield brings a suitcase of cash for Andres, the counterman, claiming it is from Sergei and meant as a gift for Spiros. Andreas denies knowing Vandas altogether, so Stanfield says they will return the next day. When they return, Vandas refuses the money because it is in poor condition. Later, we see Stanfield meets Prop Joe to discuss laundering the money and cleaning it up. Stanfield then returns to the diner and speaks with Vandas, who confirms that everything is running smoothly through Proposition Joe. Stanfield approaches Prop Joe again to exchange his cash for clean bills. Joe charges 20 cents on the dollar, meaning Stanfield loses $40,000, assuming he is offering the $200,000 as a tribute to Vandas. Joe agrees to waive an additional fee for a quick exchange due to their shared interest in the co-op. Stanfield accepts. Joe does not ask about the purpose of the money and remains unaware entirely that Stanfield plans to cut him out of his own connection with the Greeks entirely. Stanfield asks Joe to spread word of a $50,000 reward he is offering for information on Omar Little's associates. Despite Joe's concerns, Stanfield is determined to go after Omar. Afterward, Prop Joe tells his nephew Cheese that he will not provide Stanfield with any information on Omar because he is extremely glad that Omar is finally out of Baltimore once and for all. Meanwhile, Chris and Snoop ambush Butchie at his bar, killing a staff member and injuring Butchie's bodyguard, Big Guy. They torture Butchie, but Butchie refuses to give Chris and Snoop any information on Omar. After multiple attempts, Parlo takes out Butchie and lets Big Guy live so that he can spread the word of what they did back to Omar. Snoop is a bit worried about the consequences they will likely face for taking out Butchie, but Chris tells Snoop to follow Stanfield's orders and to stay cautious. After his involvement in the Junebug triple homicide, Michael becomes withdrawn. Dookie encourages him to speak to him, and Michael tells Dookie that everything in his life feels much more serious now. Michael asks Bug about his homework, but Dookie informs him that school is closed for teacher meeting. Dookie suggests they do something fun with Bug, but Michael shares that he cannot because he has to manage his corner. Dookie then suggests they visit Six Flags, which has reopened, and Michael agrees to consider it. The next day, Michael negotiates a $200 cab ride from a driver to Six Flags. They enjoy their day, even flirting with some girls along the way. However, after returning, Michael checks in on his corner and is confronted by Monk, who tells him that Chris has already been informed of Michael's absence. Meanwhile, Stanfield travels to the Antilles to access his new account. He struggles to communicate with the French-speaking cashier back in the Spanish-speaking beachfront town where Omar is living with Ronaldo. The news of Butchie's murder reaches them too, disturbing their once peaceful retirement. The news calls Omar back to Baltimore. That was episode number 53, titled Not for Attribution. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. If you made it to the end of this video, remember I am summarizing this entire series as well as other popular works of culture like literature, movies, and TV shows. I have the playlists of our summaries in the description. Also, if you found the video to be valuable, share it with a friend and click like so that YouTube can recommend it to other viewers just like you. The best way to support this channel is by becoming a Patreon supporter or by buying us a coffee. You will find all of those links in the description as well. Doing this helps the channel out tremendously, and I really thank you for your support.